Hello, hi everyone. We'll be starting in just a few minutes. How's everyone doing? I'm pretty excited for today's live stream. We're going to be starting a website build, which I'll showcase in a second. And I'm also going to go over yesterday's interaction on changing the color of a navbar on scroll. So Pavish, if you're watching, I did figure it out. It did take me a moment, but we'll go over that today as well. All right, we'll just wait a few more minutes. And we'll start at right on the dot at 12 o'clock. Cool. Just wait till everyone trickles in. All right, I think we can get started. Yeah, I appreciate the likes. Definitely helps the channel. Yeah, I've been having a lot of fun with these live streams. They're really great, and really appreciate the feedback and live interaction from the community. All right, cool. So it's 12 o'clock, so let's get started. So today, just welcome to everyone. This is the live super chat where every Monday through Thursday, 12 to 1 p.m. Central Time, I do a live kind of Webflow demo and Q&A and support, and I show off different things in Webflow to help the Webflow community learn Webflow. And I don't know if I explained that very well, but basically I do live chats and live videos every day on Webflow. Hey Manuel, good to see you. Yesterday's nav thing got stuck in my head, so I had to try it too. Yeah, I think I figured it out. So we'll go over it today. But yeah, welcome everyone to my live chat. Didn't describe it that great, but basically it's a live chat every day on Webflow. If you're building a site in Webflow and you need help, definitely join the live chat, and I'm happy to help. You know, I can take a look at your site and help with anything you might need help with. So let's jump in. So today we're gonna go over the on-scroll interaction from yesterday, and then we're gonna start building this website here. All right, so I'll jump straight into it. So Manuel, I think I figured it out. As you can see, as I scroll through the site, the color of this nav changes. All right, and if I go back up, it changes color. So I did have the right idea initially, so yesterday, so let's just go ahead and recreate it. So I'm in Webflow. If you're new to Webflow, this is the Webflow interface. I'm just gonna create a new page, and we'll just add 5 sections. So there's something kind of weird about this, the way that not the way that I did it, but the way that it's set up. And yeah, let's go ahead and start adding some sections. So I'll add one VH section. I'm gonna add some border to it. So I'll add a 3-pixel border so we can distinguish it. And I'll just call this, section 2 is fine. Give it a flex setting of center. And then I'll add a text block. And I'll call this section 1. And we'll just call this section text. And we'll make it a little bit larger. So share PT sans section 1. All right, so we have section 1, and then we'll just copy and paste. Let me just call this section. All right, cool. So section, we have section 1, and I'm just going to copy it 5 times, right? So section 1 through, and I'll rename this section 2, section 3, section 4, and section 5. Okay, so we have 5 sections, and I'll go ahead and add, we can add the navbar. I'll add a navbar, place it at the top, set it in, let me call this navbar. I'll give it a position of fixed and top, and let's set the height to 100 pixels. Make it a little bit larger, and we can center everything in here. Let's make this 100%, or the container 100%, something like that. Yeah, so I just made it a little bit larger here. So yeah, we have the navbar, and let's give it a color. So the colors, I'm just going to use like a high saturation here. Actually, I'm not going to use the navbar. I'm just going to use regular div block because we don't need text. I just want to showcase what I'm demonstrating now can be applied to the navbar, but I'm just going to use regular div block, top div, give it a height of 100, position fixed, and top. Okay, so let me give it a color of red. All right, cool. And yeah, so we have our navbar, and now we can go and add the on-scroll interaction. So I'll go into interactions, go to page trigger, click the plus, and I'll say while page is scrolling. So I'll click here, we'll play a scroll animation. I'll add a new animation, and I'll call this, if it was a navbar, we'd call it navbar color change. All right, so at 0%, we're going to add a background color, and I'll go ahead and change this to the same color because we want it to be that red. And then, so we have 5 sections. So 5 divided by 100 is 20. So at each 20% mark, we're going to change the color of the navbar. So I'm going to click, and I'm going to say BG color, and I'm going to, just change the color here. I'm going to change it to, I'm just going to change the hue in increments of 60. So it's yellow. I'll go ahead and duplicate this, and I'll add it to 40%. So at 40%, let's change the hue to 120, which is green. I'll duplicate this, and at 60%, let's change the hue to 180. And at 80%, so I'll duplicate this, and at 80%, let's change the color to 240, which is a darker blue. And at the bottom here, I think I can delete this one. That might actually work. Let me see. So blue. Yeah, I think that actually did it. So as you can see, when we scroll, so section 1 is red, then we get to section 2, it's yellow, and then 4. Okay, so yeah, we're kind of getting there. Let me duplicate this interaction and get it to 100. So from 80% to 100, I want it to be blue, and this should give us a more accurate, so yellow, green, kind of cyan, and then blue. Okay. So that's basically the gist of it. We set the color change at a percentage, but just to make sure we're snapping to each section, what I'm going to do is duplicate each of these, and I'm going to set it to very close to 20. So for this one, the keyframe, I'm going to set it to 19.99. So what's going to happen is we're going to snap the color. So from 0% to 19.99, it's red. And then once we get to 20, it's going to snap to yellow. So here I'm at the top. If I scroll, once we get to section 2, it snaps to yellow. So this is where I got thrown off a little bit. So we can see that it doesn't snap to yellow when section 2 gets to the top of the browser. I'm not sure the math behind this, but we need to add 6 sections instead of 5 in order for the different colors to change at each section. And I'm sure there's some, easy mathematical reason for this. So once I add another section, so section 6, the color is going to change right at the next section. So section 1, and then boom, section 2. So right when the top gets, once we get right to the top of the browser, section 2 of section 2, it changes color. So just to demonstrate, I can place the nav bar behind. So let me put it behind, and let's see if, or actually let me just change the z index of each section. So I'll change the z index to, let's set to relative, and yeah, there we go. So now it's on top. So yeah, so when I scroll section 1, and then once section 2 gets to the top, it changes. So you have to add, if you have 5 sections, you need to add 1 more section to accommodate this change. Or I think you could change the percentage. So rather than 100 divided by 5, you would do 100 divided by 6 and add the interaction at like every 15 or every 16 pixels. So let's quickly try that. Let's just, because adding another section of scroll height is a little bit unnecessary. So I'm going to go back into the interaction and try, so 0 to, let's say 15.99, and then we'll change this to 16 pixels, because 100 divided by 6 is 16.6. So I could be more accurate and just say 16.6, and then this would be 16.59. Okay, so let's see. So we scroll. No, that doesn't quite do it. Yeah, that's I guess we need that extra div at the end. So I'll go ahead and change this back to 19.99, and we'll just add that extra section at the bottom. So that could be an interesting kind of idea. Manuel, if you know the reason why we need that extra section, like, feel free to chime in and kind of maybe because it doesn't count this first section as a scroll section. That could be the reason. And actually that would make sense. So the first visible section isn't scrolled. So the scrolling actually starts below this main section. So the 1 to 100% is, it starts below here, and then 0 is, that actually I think I figured that out. So 0% starts at the bottom here rather than the top here. So 0 to 100%, and that's why we need that extra section. So that's interesting. All right, so 0 starts at the bottom once we scroll, and this is 20%. Okay, so that makes sense. So so all we have to do is kind of duplicate these other ones, and I'll set this one to 39.99. I'll duplicate this one, set it to 59.99, and then duplicate this and set this to 79.999, and then duplicate this one and set it to 99.99. Actually, we don't need one for this, I don't think, because we have it at 100. So let's see. So we scroll, changes to yellow, green, blue, and nice. All right, so that's how we change the color on scroll. Hey, what's up, Omar? How's it going? And that 0.01 percentage, it's not visible. Like, maybe it changes to orange for like a split second, but it's not visible to the eye. So that's why I added that 19.99 second. If you wanted to snap the color at each section, you want to add it. You want to add it from like 19.99% to snap the color. Manuel, if you want to share how you did it, just feel free to write it in chat, and then I'll take a look. So yeah, you can snap it, or oops, what did I just do there? Okay, let me duplicate this. Or you could just have it change gradually. So if you wanted that, you could just delete the interactions beforehand, and the colors will change gradually. All right, cool. So that's how we change the color of a navbar on scroll. We use the while page scrolling as interaction. So yeah, it's just important to note that 0% would start at the bottom. Nice. So Anthony wrote, great, I just finished building a whole design that looks perfect on desktop, but it's total garbage on mobile. I'm resorting to templates. Cool. It looks like the link was not pasted, Manuel. So yeah, Anthony, if you need help with your site, definitely reach out. Definitely, you can use the super chat feature, and I can help with your site. All right, so I think we harped on this. We talked about this a lot yesterday. So that's just one way to do it. Obviously, if I had more context as far as like what the design of the site was, and how this specific color change was being used, I might have a better idea, right? Because in this one, I'm just changing color every section, but on a specific site, the design does tell us like how we want to use this specific effect, where adding the interaction at specific points would definitely be much different than just changing the color at different sections. It's with the second approach you tried yesterday with while scrolling in view. Cool. Yeah, that one did get a bit complex for sure. All right. So cool. So let's start building this site here. I think this could be fun. So this one was taken from onepagelove.com. So if you want to get the assets for this, go to onepagelove.com. They have templates. They have free templates. And I just grabbed it from, if we scroll down, right here. So it's called Figma Land, I believe. And yeah, we're building it in Figma. So yeah, let's go ahead and get started with this. I'm just going to create a new project in Webflow. So new project. And we'll call this website build. Cool. I'll just call it live website build. Create project. And nice. Cool. So we have a blank project, and very nice. So yeah, when we first get into Webflow, yeah, this is what it looks like. It's just completely blank. And let me hide this down here. So we just have a blank canvas. And one thing that's important when building a site is layout, right? Like, and that could be one of the most, I don't know if the word's mystical, or one of the most daunting ideas about website building. And that's like the specific widths you need to use for desktop, tablet, mobile landscape, mobile portrait. Just figuring out the widths and the sizing of the div blocks can be a bit daunting. So I found a great article that if you're new to Webflow and you want to learn about layouts and how to start layouts, I highly recommend reading this article. It's called Structuring Content on Webflow. I'll go ahead and paste it here in the chat. It's just a good article that talks about creating columns and starting with a specific guide to help you build. Yeah, and I highly recommend it. For me, I start with sections, then containers, and he talks about this here. But it can give you some idea for how to structure your website. Because too many times I see designers, they'll just start adding div blocks, and there's no clear structure to the site, which makes it difficult to then make the site responsive as the build is going on, right? If you just start throwing div blocks and there's no alignment, there's no columns, there's no type of grid layout or flex layout, it can be very difficult to build the site. So with that said, I'll showcase how I approach this build. So I'm here in Figma, and the first thing I like to do is just take a look at the site, and in my mind I just start drawing lines. Like, I think I do this maybe unconsciously now, just because I've seen so many website builds, but in my mind I literally see boxes and lines when I look at a design at a site. So here I see one box, right? This top is a box. This right here with this image is a box, or I'll say a div. Here I'm seeing a div at the top, a left side, a right side here, a box with two boxes inside of it, a box with more boxes inside, and that's the box model, right? So we're just using the box model here. So actually, what I might download is an application that lets me draw on the screen. That would be really cool. But yeah, I'm just seeing boxes, or maybe I can do that with Figma. Let me see if I can use the pencil tool. All right, yeah, this is gonna be cool. Hold on one sec. This will be really awesome. Oh wait, pen tool. No, this is not gonna work. Pencil tool. All right. Well, does OBS have this feature? It could. Let me see. View, tools. What's this? No. Okay, never mind. All right. I was just looking at if there was an easy way to draw on the screen. If anyone knows of an application that lets me draw like free form on the screen, definitely let me know in chat. But yeah, basically, let's see, pencil. Oh, okay, it's working. No. So I have to start up here. If I start with the pencil tool up here, it'll let me do it. Okay, so let me try this. All right, so, or let me try actually drawing a box. Desktop. Let's see if I can create a new layer. Nope. Okay. All right. Okay, I'm not going to spend too much time trying to draw, but just picture a box here, a box here. Oh, now it's letting me do it. Yeah, I just want an absolute position box. No, okay. Well, this is fun. Okay. Arrange. Bring to the front. Okay. All right. So this rectangle. Okay, never mind that piece. But yeah, so a box here, a box. Okay, we're gonna get there. I have an idea. Never mind my dog barking in the background. Okay, so let me just take a snapshot. Okay, cool. So now I'll use this tool because I definitely want to showcase this. I think this will help with understanding. Okay. Okay. All right. Okay, so we have a box here. Hey, what's up, Jonathan? How's it going? All right, we have a box here. Okay, I'm not going to spend too much more time doing this, but you get the idea. So yeah, it's using the box model. If you're not familiar with the box model, there's a great YouTube video, so Webflow box model, and I would recommend kind of going over this, and it just showcases, how within web design we're just adding boxes and boxes basically. Okay, let's just start with the website build. So I'm not gonna spend too much more time with that. So for my next live streams, I'll look for like a cool drawing tool so I can draw on the screen. So yeah, let's just start building the site. And as I'm building, if you have any questions, definitely let me know. So let's start with the nav right up here. So it's called Figma Land. So let's go into Webflow, and the first thing I'm going to do is just create a div block. This is just a personal kind of preference, but I like adding a page wrapper to my pages and putting everything in the page wrapper. It's similar to adding everything to the body, but if I wanted to move the entire page to another page or something like that, or another site, I could just copy and paste the page wrapper to another site. So I'll go ahead and call this page wrapper. And in here, we'll go ahead and add the first, or actually in here, we're going to add the navbar. So I'm going to click the plus, and I'll add the navbar, and that looks good. So actually, one of the first things we can do is change the background color of the body. So all good. Thanks, John. Just past 5 a.m. here in New Zealand. Wow, that's very early. Cool. Nice. Thanks for taking the time to join the class. So this dark background, let's see what color it is. Okay, I have to get a little more familiar with Figma. So it's 181818. So we can just go to the body right here, and let's just go to because this website has a dark theme, we're just going to style the global selector, which is body all pages. So I'll go ahead and click. And for the background, I'll say 181818. And there we have the background color of the site. That looks good. So then for the navbar, I'm just going to set it to transparent. And then for the nav links, so let's look at the style of this nav. So we have the brand here on the right. We have the nav items here in the middle, and then we have the login button. So I'm actually, let's see this container. Yeah, this is the thing about the Webflow container. Let me see if I can add set the max width. So the max width I'm going to use for the site is 1200, and then I'm going to add 40 pixels of margin from the left and 40 pixels of margin from padding, to the container. Okay, so the max width is going to be 1200. Okay, cool. Actually, let me do that. And then for these nav links, I'm going to add them. All right, cool. So it's a nav menu. So for this container, I'm going to add a button. Okay. So we have the brand, the nav menu, and let me go ahead and make these nav links. I'll give it the class name nav link, and I'll set the color to white. I can just do these for these other nav links. Nav link. Okay, so I want this button to go after the nav menu. So let's see here. So we have the brand, nav menu, and the button. So the button should be, okay. Well, that's curious. So let's see. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of the default Webflow navbar. I'm sure a lot of us have had our quirks with it. Basically, I want to center this nav menu. So let me go ahead and apply a flex setting. So to the container, I'll say flex, align center. Oh, and actually it works now. So the button must have had a span to it or something like that. But that's exactly what I want here. So to the container, we applied flex, align center, and we're going to justify space between. Nice. And let's just look at here. And let's go ahead and, so space between, and I actually want, okay, so yeah, this container has margin of 212 on each side. So again, these are the little things that throw me off. So 0, 0 for the container, and let's remove the margin, and then let's set the spacing to center, to auto. So it centers this nav bar. And I'm still not getting the desired result here. Like I want the brand to be all the way to the left. That's interesting. So I guess what I'll do is I'll just say position absolute for the brand and place it to the left, and make sure that this container has a position of relative, and the brand, yeah, okay, so the brand is on the left now, and then the button, we'll set it to a position of absolute and right. Okay. And just set the bottom left and top to auto, and then the right 0%. Okay, so that was a lot of fiddling just for the navbar. That's one thing I'm not a big fan of, the Webflow navbar. Sometimes it's much easier for me to just add my own div block and add, the navbar myself. But the good thing about the navbar is that once we get to mobile, it does give us a mobile menu. So I do like that aspect of it. All right, so we'll just style it once we get to tablet. Yeah, so let me go ahead and add these links. We have home, product, about, and contact. So home, about, product, and let me paste, and contact. Okay, so actually for this container as well, I'm gonna add 40 pixels of padding from the left and 40 pixels from the right. Okay, and then I'll go ahead and add this image. So let me just find it here in Figma. So it's right here. It's rectangle 4. So I'll go ahead and export it. Let me preview it. And is it an SVG? No, it looks like an image. So I'm going to export it at 2 times and a PNG. So export rectangle. Let me just see how it looks. That looks good. So let's go into Webflow and go into my downloads, and I'll just add this rectangle. So then I'll go into the brand right in here. I'll add an image, and I'll choose this image, Figma Land, and let me set it to image as high DPI, so it'll just make it twice as small, which works out there. And let me make sure that within the brand we have a flex setting and it's centered. Okay, so we have the logo, that looks good. And then let's style this button here. We're gonna make it a login button. So let me just double click. I'll just say login. And then, so a lot of my design is just gonna be by eye. You could go into the Figma file and get the exact dimensions. So here I can see the width is 139 and the height is 52. So I could just give it that those exact dimensions. The height is 52. Okay. And just, you know, give it a flex setting of center. And I'll remove the background, set it to transparent, give it a border of white. And cool, so there we have the login button. I'll go ahead and we're gonna use Roboto for this. So the font that's being used on the site is Graphic, but Graphic is a paid font, so I'm gonna just use Roboto here. So we'll use all the variations, add font, go back into the designer, and let me go into here and we'll set it to Roboto for the nav link. Okay. And let's set it to Roboto medium. Same for the login. Roboto medium. Okay. So for this container, let's go ahead and add some padding from the top as well. So I'm going to hold down Option on my Mac keyboard. And I'm going to add about 20 pixels of padding from the top and the bottom, just so we have more space there. And I'm also going to make this nav link text a little bit larger, so 16. And I'll add some letter spacing of maybe 1 pixel. And the same for this login button. Okay, so yeah, that's looking pretty good. We have our Navbar, similar to this Figma file here. All right, so why isn't any padding being applied? Oh, because it's positioned absolute. Let me try to change this to relative. Brand and relative. What I can try here, so let me select the nav menu and let me say grow if possible. Yeah, okay, nice. I'm going to center this and okay. And look at that, the nav links have margin too. That's so strange. What is up? So I think in my next build, I'm not going to use this navbar. It's just a little too confusing with some of the things that are applied to the specific div blocks. There might be a reason behind all of it, but as I'm building, I don't like not having control over the different sizing and having preset sizings already applied. So that's one thing I'm just learning now. I don't typically use the navbar, but since it's so easily accessible, I just wanted to try it out and use it. Yeah, so after fiddling, we finally got the navbar that we wanted. If we go into this navbar, into tablet, I would just hide the login button, and then I would adjust the sizing of this container. So I would change it, let's see, maybe remove the padding. But yeah, That's interesting. Again, let me adjust to the left, and then I would just change this menu button, or I might just select this brand and say grow if possible, and then align it to the left, something like that. So now we have this icon, and let me change the color of the icon to white. So now we have this nav bar. If we go here on tablet, we have this mobile menu. And then I would just add, yeah, this is kind of so there's a lot of tips actually I'm going over here. So I would just add another button here, and I would call this, I would say submit, or login, excuse me, login. And I would give it a combo class of login, or just, give it a combo class. And on desktop, I would hide it. And then once we get to tablet, we're going to see, oh yeah, let me go into here. And on tablet, I'll just make it a display block. And then login will show here in this nav menu. But on desktop, wow, what just happened there? Okay, I don't know why two navs showed for no reason, but yeah, so mobile, we have login here, and on desktop, we see we don't have login, but it's its own button. All right, so Navbar is done. I know that took a little bit longer than we were expecting, but it is done. And I actually think I'm not going to make it fixed. So yeah, the Navbar is relative. It's in the page wrapper, so if I scroll, it's not fixed to the site. Cool. And let's see, navbar. Okay, I'm just deciding how I want to approach this here. Yeah, since I don't want the navbar to be stuck to the top, I'm just going to, in the page wrapper, we're going to add a section. And in this, we're going to place the section at the top, and then we're going to place the navbar in the section. Okay, so now when I add more content, it's going to go below the navbar. Okay. And that looks good. Let me just check my alignment. Yeah, that looks good. Center. And I'm going to remove the padding from these nav links. So 0 and 0. Yeah, so it's more centered with, actually, I'll give it padding, but not as much. So I'll do 10 pixels of padding. Yeah, so we can get it more centered with this login button. It looks pretty good. And then Figma, this Figma land, let me change it to the top there. Okay. I don't quite like, actually that's not too bad. I'm just looking at the alignment of this logo with the rest of these items. And it's similar here. Figma land is a bit lower. I would maybe give it a little bit of margin from the bottom so it moves up, or from the top. Nope, from the bottom. Something like 10. And that just aligns this Figma land with this navbar a bit better. We could even add more padding to this container, so I might do something like 30. Bro, your videos are so helpful. Thank you. So it's faster to do it manually, and how do you put the menu button if so? That's a good question, Omar. Yeah, like one thing you could do is you could add a manual desktop nav and then add a nav on tablet. So you'd have two different navs, one for desktop and one for tablet. But as you can see here, you can definitely customize it. For me, I don't use the navbar that much, so it just took me a while to fiddle and get it looking how I wanted it to. So yeah, we have the desktop, and then we have the mobile navigation. Okay, so yeah, there is a lot of fiddling in Webflow. Like if you're new to Webflow, you're definitely gonna work quite a bit with it. as far as like and especially with this nav bar, just had a lot of its own preset sizing, and I wanted a specific kind of, I wanted it to look a specific way. All right, so let's go ahead and get into the section. So yeah, thank you, that the anime guy, appreciate it. So let's get into this section right here. I'll go ahead and add that. So we'll go ahead and add, let's add, let me just take a look here. So yeah, we're gonna make this top section, we're gonna make this one section here with this text, these buttons, and this image. So within the section, let me add a div block, and I'm gonna call this container. And yeah, so because we already styled the container for this nav, it automatically gives the properties that I wanted to it. So it gives us a padding of 40 and 40, and I don't know if I want the padding here. So what I'm gonna do is go into the nav container, and I'm gonna give it a combo class. I'm gonna remove actually this padding, and I'm gonna give it a combo class of navbar, and then just re-add that padding. Yeah, so I give it 30-30. So now if we go into the container, we don't have any padding in the top and the bottom. I just want the padding on the left and the right. So as the screen gets smaller, it doesn't knock against the content we put into the container. Okay, so we have the container, and let me go ahead and add the heading, work at the speed of thought. So yeah, let me see here. Yeah, okay. So so we have the container. Again, this nav bar is throwing me off. Sorry about this, guys. I know I'm kind of going back and forth a little bit, but this nav bar with the container class is throwing me off quite a bit. I'm going to duplicate this class and just call this nav bar container, and I'm going to remove this combo class, and that way we're not touching this nav bar container. It's its own separate thing. And then we'll go into this container, and yeah, now we don't have to worry about the nav bar. It's completely separate from the nav bar. Yeah, I like it that way, much better. So let's go ahead and add, and the reason I'm doing that is because now I want the content within this container, I want it to be centered and centered. Whereas in the nav bar container, we had a different, we had justify space between. So let's go into this container, okay? After that, run around there, and let's go ahead and add this heading. So I'm gonna go into Webflow, I'm gonna add a heading, and we can see it's centered, which is great. And I'm gonna give it I'm gonna apply the styling to the global tag, all H1 headings, and then I'll go into Figma, and let's just take a look at the design here. So, so this text is 80 pixels with a line height of 88. Okay, so let's go into Webflow, and let's change the color to white. And the text is work at the speed of thought. Work at the speed of thought. Okay, and align center, and 80 pixels, and a line height of 88. Okay, and the text will make roboto, and we'll give it a letter spacing of 0.2. Actually, we might be able to, because it's a different font. Let's try 0.5. Yeah, 0.4. Okay, we'll just do what they had, 0.2. All right. So work at the speed of thought, and we'll add some. So did I apply to the global tag? Let's see, all h1 headings. Yeah, I want all h1 headings to be Roboto 80 and 88 with a letter spacing of 0.2. And that way, if I go into this heading and I remove this class, and let me go into the h1 heading, and we also want it to be centered. So now when I add a heading, so if I hit Command K and add a heading in Webflow, it's going to have that same styling. So this goes back to like, if you had a style guide, you could build your style guide first in Webflow with the global tags, and that way when you add specific elements in Webflow, like a heading, it'll have that styling already applied. So that's just a good practice, like select your headings or your different elements and style the global tag. So if you add more elements, or if you add a rich text element, it's already styled. So here, yeah, let's see. I'm gonna add a specific class to this one because I'm going to apply specific margin to the top and the bottom. So I'm just gonna call this hero heading, and I'm gonna give it margin of like 80 from the top, so it's a bit farther from the navbar. And we have this paragraph text here. So within the container, I'll go ahead and hit Command K, and I'll add a paragraph. So for this container, let's set the flex layout to vertical instead of horizontal. And that looks good. And we have this paragraph. So let's go ahead and style all the paragraph elements. So I select the all paragraphs tag, and let's double click. And this is a size of 20 pixels and a line height of 30. So let's go into all paragraphs, change the color to white. I'll say Roboto, and a size of 20 and a line height of 30. Okay, and center. And actually, I don't think we want, yeah, no, we're not going to center the paragraphs. Let's just leave it justified left. And we just want the basic styling for our global tag, so like the color and the size. And I'm starting to think if this is a paragraph element. I'm thinking this is not a paragraph. It's more, yeah, no, it is. We'll use the paragraph element for this. It could be more of a text block because it's not really a paragraph in text. They're more of just like subtext. This to me would be more of a paragraph, like in here. Like that's a paragraph. So I think, and these to me are paragraphs too. I'm gonna call it a paragraph. That's just a personal call. It's 8 p.m. here in Germany. Do you mind if I keep watching while I'm in the? Yeah, go ahead, Manuel. You don't need to share that, but that's cool. Whatever. Do you? Yeah, no worries. Yeah, the laugh emoji for sure. Yeah, let's just call it a paragraph. I'm gonna call it a paragraph, and I'll just call this. Let's just call it hero paragraph. Or I'm gonna give it the combo class subtext, and yeah, so we styled that, and now I'm gonna center this subtext, and let's see, prototype. Let's see if I can get the text here. All right, so this is really cool about Figma. Like if you double click into the text, you can copy the text right from Figma. You don't need to rewrite it. So here I can just click copy, and then I can go into Webflow and just paste that text in there. Okay, and then I'm gonna give it some margin of like, also if you have a design system, sometimes it's good to use the same margins throughout. Like if your increments are like in 30 and 60 or 24, 48, 72, stick to that that those increments, because it just makes designing easier. And if you have a design system, designing the site is much easier. So yeah, in this case, I feel like I'm using increments of maybe 20. So like here I added 80. So maybe for this one I'll do 40. So I'll do increments of 20, 40, 60, and 80, just to keep it consistent throughout the site. And so here for the nav, I might do 20 as well. And that does have like I'm not gonna say, yeah, maybe a subconscious effect. Like if all the spacing throughout the site is similar, the user is gonna pick up on that like subtly, because everything's just gonna feel a little bit tighter within the site. And I'll reference the Learn UI Design course for that, because he mentions that really well on making everything consistent, applying consistency to your site. So here you can see for the padding I used 40. So yeah, that's starting to look good. Work at the speed of thought. We have that text. And let's add these buttons here. So for these buttons, and this will be the last thing I'll do for today, I'm going to add a div block, and I'm going to call this button wrapper. And we're going to set the flex setting to flex, center, and align, justify left and right. And I'll go ahead and add these buttons. So I'll hit Command K, I'll add a button, and I'll copy and paste and add that button in there. Cool. So actually, let me style one button first. So let's do try for free. So I'll just double click in here. Could you maybe make a video at some point about creating design system and CSS class name conventions? I feel that can be quite challenging, and I'm often end up in kind of a mess. Yeah, for sure. You're definitely not alone there, Manuel. As far as class naming conventions, there's quite a few articles on class naming conventions. For coders, they use like there's a name for it. Hold on, let me just find it. And there's a great article on class naming conventions too that is really helpful. So the BEM model, this is a really cool kind of article that talks about class names, and it can be good if you're a coder, and using it in Webflow can be helpful. But because Webflow is more of a design tool, I feel it's not necessarily for just coders. I just like using a simple method of, for me, I initially started with just all lowercase letters and dashes. But then I moved to, because when I build templates with class names, I use capital case, which is any words in the class name have a capital letter. And when Webflow renders the code, I believe it just removes all capital letters and adds dashes. So for my own sanity, and just to have a consistent class naming convention, I'm just starting to use capital case. So for instance, for this button, this is called the try for free button. I would just name it free button, right? Capital F and capital B. And now I can go ahead and style it. So, or you know what? I'll just call this button. So I just give it a capital B and just say button. Let me remove this class. Or actually, I'll just call this hero button, like that, hero button. And, I'll go ahead and start styling it. So I'll go in here, just grab this color, it's copied, go into here, paste, and give it try for free. Right, and then let's see if I can get some. So padding is 10 from the top and the bottom and 30 from the left and the right. So, I'll go into Webflow, say 10 and 30 from the left and the right. I feel like it's more than that. So padding, yeah, it has a specific height here. Okay. The height is 65 pixels and the width is 178. Yeah, it looks like these buttons are the same size. No, no. Let me see here. Padding 10 pixels. Let's just see. Oh no. Yeah, so 30. Oh, it's because this text has its own padding. Okay, so we'll just stick to that. So for the button padding left and right is 30, top and bottom is 10, and the font size for this is 17 and 25. So 17 pixels in size and a line height of 25. And so yeah, let's just give more padding to the top. So I don't have to go exactly by this, what it shows here in Figma. I can just kind of fiddle with it until I get something that I visually like. Yeah, it looks good. And Roboto. And let me try one. Yeah, it looks good. And then I'll paste, and we have this button. So I'll call this hero button 2. And then we'll just remove the color, set it to transparent, and give it a border of white. And then for the hero button, let's give it some margin from the left and the right of about 10 pixels, or maybe 20. Okay. And from the top, so let's use that increment of 20. I'm going to give it a margin for the button wrapper. I'm going to say a margin of 40 pixels. Okay. So this has 40 pixels and this has 40 pixels, the buttons here. And this is learn more. Try for free. And these are capital case. Okay, so yeah, we're getting there. We have the navbar and we have this text. This navbar does not look centered. Why is that? Nav menu, center. Oh, I guess it is centered. Yeah. Or maybe it isn't. Yeah, so curious as to why this navbar container is not using the full width. So let me see something here. Nav menu. Yeah, okay. Yeah, let's just leave it like that for now. It does look centered. All right, cool. So yeah, let's leave it at that for today. That's it for today's video. Definitely went over quite a bit. If you're new to Webflow, this might have been a little bit daunting, but hopefully you're picking up a few little tips and tricks as I'm building. So we have some nice buttons here. We'll apply some hover states to these buttons. Obviously, like I don't know if there's a design system for this. They actually do have a little bit of a design system. So they have the headline, the second headline, the subheading. So this is a subheading. So it's not a paragraph. Yeah, that's actually a bit more clear. Calling this a subheading to me is a little bit more clear than calling it a paragraph. So for this, let me just call it subheading, which is actually what I called it. I called it subtext, but subheading. And then when we get to the paragraph text, we'll restyle the global class. But yeah, it's not looking centered to me. It's kind of bothering me a little bit. Because this text doesn't feel, this navbar. I don't think I'll use a navbar again. It doesn't feel centered. Okay, bear with me while I work on this just a bit. Is it because this has, no. Let's look at this brand. maybe it is centered. Here, let me delete this for a second, or just hide it. I'll hide this button. Yeah, that looks centered. So I'm just going to end up setting this to a position of absolute. And yeah, absolute, and the same for the brand. Set it to 0. Yeah. Absolute. And yeah, that looks good. And we'll say center here. Okay, now it looks centered. Okay, I have no particular request. Just want to encourage you for your work in this first week of your new journey. Omar, really appreciate that. I definitely put a lot of kind of thought into, some of my demos, and I'm super excited to keep sharing information about Webflow. Obviously, as this goes on, things are going to get a bit more consistent, and yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. Hopefully this starts building momentum. Like, I want this to, maybe in a month or two have like 50 people in this chat. So if you know anyone getting into Webflow, definitely point them my way. Because, one thing about these live streams, the more questions I get, I think the easier it's going to be to keep the momentum of the video going, because we have specific topics we're covering. But right now I just want to cover, some of the ways I approach a website build, and yeah, and how to use Webflow. So yeah, so far it's looking good. It's looking, very similar. So if you're working with a template or a Figma file, definitely check if it has a design guide, because that can be super helpful as you're building. It doesn't look like there's any hover states for this design guide, which is fine. We can just come up with our own hover states. But a design guide can help with like colors and everything like that. Oh, so for this one, these images, I want to add a very cool effect to this, where the images are hovering, like they're just going back and forth. So they're like going up and down for these 3 images. So we can see here, these are actually 3 images. So we have this image, and this image. I want to give it this hovering effect where it's just like going up and down. And we might work with 3D transform properties for these images. Or I think maybe just moving them up and down because they're already skewed might give us the 3D effect we're looking for. So this will be a lot of fun. If there's no other questions tomorrow, this is what I'll cover tomorrow. Yeah, and again, thank you so much, Omar. Super appreciate the super chat. But yeah, so we've done the buttons, and I don't think these buttons actually need, they don't need any letter spacing. No, they do. Maybe 0.5 instead of 1. Yeah, that looks good. Yeah, it's a little detail. Letter spacing sometimes can add just that little bit of breathing room to the text, where it looks much better. So Manuel asks, can I ask one more question? Is there some kind of grid line view in Webflow where you would see all the boxes basically? I think I have seen it somewhere, but cannot find it anymore. Yeah, that's the X-ray vision. And you're right, it's not. Where's the X-ray feature in Webflow? I think they moved it. Yeah, cool. That's looking good. Yeah, what happened to that feature? They must have moved it. I know it's called X-ray. That's a good question, Manuel. Let's find that. This will be the last thing we'll cover today. Yeah, it used to be down here. X-ray mode. Here we go, right here. So you click on the top here, 625 by, or like the 100%, the canvas settings, and then just click X-ray mode. Nope. Sorry, not X-ray mode. Line guide. Yeah, and So we have the line guide, show element edges. Yeah, why can't I see the element edges? Oh, well, now I can. If I hover, yeah. X-ray mode, no. So line guide. Yeah, I think the line guides are black, so let's change the color for a second. Yeah, we don't need the line guides actually. So let me go back in here. There's the filled guide. Yeah, I thought there was a mode that let you see the boxes as you're working on them. We do have the element edges, so as we hover, we can see that. But at least even at this point, what you're sharing is very helpful. Yeah, thanks, Omar. Appreciate that. Yeah. Yeah, I thought there was a way. Maybe there was, maybe I just remember it differently. But I thought there was a way to always have the boxes kind of show up. But when we hover, we can see the box, the different boxes here. Cool. So that was a very fun build. Yeah, I can actually change this to not grow. So far, so good. Let's go ahead and publish. And let's go ahead and preview. And yeah, so the site's coming along. I might add some more padding here at the top. But let's go ahead and look. So as you can see, that 40 pixel of padding. So rather than like once we get here to this text, we have some padding padding from the left and the right. And I just realized, so for these absolute elements, we want to add some margin of 40, and the same for this one, margin of 40, because they're absolute positioned. So we don't want them to be exactly flush here. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, building a website, Webflow is a lot faster than coding for sure. But it does still take time, because we are using, so adding that margin you see on the left and the right just gives us that breathing room when the website is resizing. So we're not getting right at the edge of the screen here. Right, so it's always nice to add a bit of spacing to the containers and to the nav bars, so you never get an instance where you're bumping up against the side of the browser. Okay, so that's it for today's live stream. Tomorrow we're gonna work on this section. It's gonna be super fun. If there's no questions in chat, we'll get to this section. And yeah, I'm gonna make actually a video specifically on the interaction I worked on yesterday. So it'll be like a nice 5-10 minute video on how to build the interaction. So I'm planning on doing live streams as well as one like 10-minute video a day, so that my content is easily accessible, because I know these videos are very long in the live stream. So yeah, that's it for today's tutorial. Manual Angler X-ray mode. Yeah, X-ray mode is just black and white. It just shows black and white. All your elements, are just or let me see if I change the body background color. That was it. Thank you, Omar. Yeah, Omar. Yeah. That's very interesting. If you have a dark theme website, X-ray mode is not going to work too well. So as you can see, I've enabled X-ray mode, and let me see here. Yeah, so X-ray mode does show the lines, but if you're working on a dark theme site, the lines are dark, so you won't be able to see the lines in X-ray mode, which that would be an interesting thing for Webflow to kind of update. Even when it's white, the lines aren't that visible. It's only when getting to like maybe let's see here. Well, yeah, it makes everything black and white. Yeah, I guess it doesn't work if the body is black. It doesn't. It just you can't see the lines if the background of the site is black. Hey Lydia, hey hi everyone, came in so late, but this looks super useful. Learned something already these few minutes. Thanks for sharing. Awesome. Yeah, that's what these live chats are for. Yeah, if you know anyone else who needs help with Webflow, send them this way. I want to make this one of like the main sources for Webflow help. So like even basic things. I think as this live stream gets more and more traction, we're just gonna get all types of users, like beginners, advanced users, and then we're all just gonna continue learning about Webflow. So that's the goal. It could take a month to, a month is kind of optimistic, but I'm thinking like 2-3 months of me just doing this every week. And yeah, just send everyone this way. We're going to make this a super helpful community of Webflow help and support where if someone's building a site and, they need help, I want them to think about this live stream as one of the first things they think about. Like, oh, hey, John has a live stream. I'm going to go ask him a question real quick. And not only will the question get answered, but we'll all learn together. And we'll just get really proficient at building sites in Webflow. Websites is in very high demand right now. I don't know if we all know this, but everyone needs a website. People need their website built. And to me, Webflow is just one of the best ways to build websites. It surpasses that barrier of having to spend hours of learning code, and it makes designing a lot more fun. And so the more developers there are, the more people will have access to like getting their website built. And just from personal experience, I know the hardship that we as developers go through dealing with clients, and I know the hardship clients go through dealing with developers. So my goal is to bridge that gap between designers and clients and developers, and Webflow to me is the ultimate tool to bridge that gap, right? That those pain points that we experience between developing and clients, like that can all be bridged to the point where like if a client says, oh, I want this built, you as a developer can be like, yeah, like I can definitely do that. Or if the client or if as a developer you want to build a certain thing, you can be like, oh yeah, like I can do that. So the goal of this channel is just to bridge that gap, make this a source of truth for website development and a source of truth for Webflow and how to build in Webflow. And yeah, just keep building momentum with this live stream, with this channel, just staying consistent with it so that we all have fun building in Webflow. So again, that was my little rant. Live streaming gives me the opportunity to go on little rants like this, which is why I like it. It's kind of like a little podcast where I just speak my mind a little bit, as well as showcase how to use Webflow and how to build a site. All right, so I think that's it for this live stream. I always go over an hour. I'm not sure why. But thanks everyone for joining. Thanks again, Omar, for the super chat. If you do have a question, you get high priority because you sent that super chat. That does not go unnoticed. It does help support my YouTube channel and helps support me in continuing to create these live streams. So yeah, if there's no other questions, Lydia, I know you just got here. If you don't have any questions, yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and end it. Yes, Webflow is so damn great. The tool I was looking for my whole life. Absolutely. For sure, Manuel. Awesome. Very cool. Yeah, just keep promoting it. Tell people in the forums or wherever you're posting about Webflow. Obviously I don't want to go into the forums and say, hey, check out my live stream. But if you know people in the Webflow community that need help, be like, hey, John is doing a live stream every day and you can ask him questions. I'm not one to promote things heavily like that. So, and I love the forums. The forums is a great place to get help, but I just want to add another thing to the Webflow ecosystem where users can get help with their site. Definitely not trying to compete or anything with the forums or anything like that. There's no way, because there's just so much information on there. So much good information. I use the forums myself too often, and different Webflow articles and the Webflow University. But, the more, and I'm ranting again, but as Webflow grows, I think there's just going to be more demand for help. And I want this to be one of those areas of help that users can go to. All right. Nice. Thanks for listening to my little rant there, my little talk. Thanks, Lydia. Definitely appreciate you joining. Thanks, everyone. And yeah, if you have any ideas for tomorrow as well, like anything you'd like to see built or something like that, definitely let me know. But we'll continue with this build tomorrow. I'm super excited for, building a cool interaction with these images and having them hover to create a nice effect for the user. All right, that's it for today's live stream. Thanks for watching, everyone, and I'll see you tomorrow. Thank you.